Okay.
This week. Do you want people, if they've got a question, do you want them to put it in the chat, or will you stop halfway through and ask if there's any questions, or what would you like to do?
I don't know. What do you think's best?
Up to you. Yeah.
People.
They don't want to stop you mid-flow. Yeah, if anyone's got a really important question, put it in the chat, and then we can look at them.
It's fairly self-explanatory.
Lovely.
So anyway,
recording's on, so thanks, Linda. The floor is yours.
So, as Christine said, I've been teaching yoga a long time, trained in the 90s, the British wheel. And, you know, part of the 8 limbs of yoga is pranayama, which is a breathing technique. And I've always brought breathing into my class, but just recently, I just sort of seem to be learning so many more different things. And I think it's like anything, research and books and things. And I don't know if anybody's read any books. I mean, James Nestor is one, The Breath, the New Science of a Lost Art. Somebody might have seen that. There's been quite a lot of information. Then the one I was recommended more recently is Patrick McEwen, The Oxygen Advantage. And it's just really quite interesting just to learn so many different things about breathing. And one of the things that's really interesting is, I don't know if you know, but those people who live at higher altitudes tend to live longer. And it's the reduced pressure of oxygen at these altitudes, which is just really sort of fascinated me. You wouldn't have thought that, would you? Because excess oxygen can prematurely damage your tissues through the generation of excess free radicals, and which causes damage to fats in cell membranes, proteins, and DNA. So exposing yourself to reduced oxygen for a short period of time can actually improve your blood oxygen carrying capacity, which I just thought was quite interesting, and also increases the maximum volume of oxygen that an athlete can use. It's known as the VO2 max. But most of us live near sea level, so we're not in high altitudes unless you live up in the mountains, but none of us do it. And we don't achieve the benefits. But there are strategies that can allow us to access the benefit of living at high altitude with reduced oxygen intake. So that was the first thing that really fascinated me. The other thing as well is, you know, how often do we think about our breathing? I say that in yoga, don't I? You know, stop during the day and think about your breathing. How often do we do that? So we think about, you know, what we're eating and our nutrition and about our water, but we don't think about our breathing. So again, that's another fascinating thing. We can live without food for weeks. We can live without water for days, but air for a few brief minutes. But how often do we think about it? How important is it to us, our breathing and the quality of our breathing? And so we don't really pay any attention to the air we breathe. But it's not about just the quality, it's the quantity. How much should we breathe for optimum health? And this is what this book is about, and that's what James Nestor talks about. There's other things I'm going to talk about. So correct breathing should be everyone's birthright, and it has become extremely challenging in our modern society. We assume that the body knows reflexively how much air it needs all the time, but unfortunately that isn't the case. Over centuries, we've changed our environment, haven't we? Drastically, really. You know, just lifestyle. You know, in the past, our ancestors, they had a natural diet. It was a less competitive environment. They weren't quite as stressed as we are these days. And they physically worked harder than we do. So the lifestyle was conducive to maintaining efficient breathing patterns. But in these days, it's been warped by stress, sedentary lifestyles. You know, everybody sits at a desk, a computer, they're hunched over the desk, overheated homes. They didn't have central heating years ago, did they? And lack of fitness. You know, obesity is going up. People aren't generally as fit as they used to be. So, you know, people now work at a desk, talk on the phone a lot. People who talk a lot. Your mouth breathing, I'm going to talk about that as well, mouth breathing versus nose breathing. So, you know, modern day living has changed our environment, and modern day living gradually increases the amount of air we breathe. So whilst we're getting more oxygen into our lungs, it might seem like a good idea. It's a fact that that light breathing is a testament to good health. So light breathing is better than taking in more oxygen. And that sounds quite unusual, doesn't it? It was like, that was again a big thing to me. Why, you know, I don't really understand that. So the biggest obstacle to your health and fitness is a rarely identified problem. And what it is chronic overbreathing. Most of us are overbreathing. And, you know, people can often breathe in 2 to 3 times more air than required without knowing it. People hyperventilate, asthmatics breathe shallowly into the upper chest. We don't take any pauses often between the breathing. So to determine if you're overbreathing, I just want you to think about some questions and see if you answer yes to any of these questions. I mean, you can put your hand up if you like. Do you find that you breathe, does anybody breathe through the mouth in a normal, everyday breathing? You know, is it something that you do naturally? Do you sometimes breathe through your mouth as you're going through your daily activities? Does anybody do that? Do you breathe through your mouth during sleep? That's quite a big thing. I mean, we don't know, do we, unless somebody tells us if we're snoring. But you can often tell if you wake up with a dry mouth in the morning. Do you snore or hold your breath during sleep? Again, that's a problem, isn't it? Sleep apnea. Can you visibly notice you breathing during rest? So your breathing should be really, really quiet. So I mean, just look at your breathing now and just notice it, you know, do it again. Unless you're into yoga and you do breathing techniques and you meditate, you probably don't really think about your breath. The other thing is, you know, do you chest breathe? Do you breathe up into the chest, or do you use your diaphragm muscle underneath your lungs, and does it push into your abdomen when you breathe? And I find a lot of people that come to yoga for the first time, I say to them, breathe in and push your belly out. Your diaphragm pushes into your belly as you breathe in. Diaphragm pushes down into your abdomen, pushes it out slightly. And as you breathe out, your abdomen pulls back as your diaphragm pushes up towards your heart. And people say to me, oh, I breathe opposite to that. So that's another thing to think about. The other thing is, do you regularly sigh throughout the day? You know, sigh now and again is okay, but regular sighing is enough to maintain chronic overbreathing. And again, do you hear your breathing during rest? Do you experience symptoms resulting from habitual overbreathing, such as nasal congestion, tightening of the airways, fatigue, dizziness, or lightheadedness? And sometimes if you're tired, it's because you're not breathing correctly. So if you answer yes to some or all of these, it suggests a tendency to overbreathe. We have an optimal quantity of air we breathe, and overbreathing can be damaging to our health. And it can affect our health, poor fitness, compromised performance, anxiety, fatigue, insomnia, can lead to heart problems, believe it or not, you know, bad breathing, obesity as well. And the breath of life influences literally every aspect of our health. Breathing too much air every minute, every hour, every day translates into excessive breathlessness during exercise. And these can be a difference between a healthy and vibrant life and an ill and a feeble one. Overbreathing causes a narrowing of airways, it limits your body's ability to oxygenate, and the constriction of blood vessels, leading to reduced blood flow to the heart and other organs and muscles. I hope I'm not depressing you, because they're quite sort of, you know, worrying things, aren't they? But we can do things about it. Excuse me. These systematic impacts affect your health profoundly, whether you're a professional athlete or your main exercise is walking up the stairs of your house. So everybody. So the amount of oxygen your muscles, your organs and your tissues are able to use is not entirely dependent on the amount of oxygen in your blood. That's another fascinating point. Our red blood cells are saturated with between 95 and 99% oxygen, and that's plenty for even the most strenuous exercise. But what actually determines how much this oxygen your body can use is the amount of carbon dioxide in your blood. So that is another quite fascinating find, really. I've been watching somebody called Christopher Gladwell. I've been doing some breathing techniques with him, and he was saying the same thing. At the end of your out breath, we need to, when we're consciously breathing, we need to put some pauses in so it gets the level of carbon dioxide right, so you actually absorb your oxygen. Again, fascinating. I didn't realise that till fairly recently. So most people learn that carbon dioxide is just a waste gas that we exhale from our lungs, but it's not a waste gas. It's the key variable that allows the release of oxygen from the red blood cells to be metabolized by the body. And this is called the Bohr effect, B-O-H-R effect. And it was discovered over 100 years ago. I don't know why I haven't just found out about it. And it explains the release of oxygen to working muscles and organs. And most people don't realise that. The amount of oxygen, the amount of carbon dioxide present in our blood cells determines how much oxygen we can use. And I'll give you a little exercise at the end, which I'm trying to do to actually get that level of carbon dioxide right. We don't take in much carbon dioxide, but we produce it as a byproduct of our breathing. We exhale carbon dioxide. So how we breathe determines the levels of carbon dioxide present in our blood. When we breathe correctly, we have a sufficient amount of carbon dioxide and our breathing is quiet, controlled and rhythmic. If we're over breathing, our breathing is heavy, more intense and erratic. And we exhale too much carbon dioxide, leaving our body literally gasping for oxygen. So again, I don't know if any of you people knew that. It was new to me. So it's very intuitive. If we breathe better, increasing the amount of carbon dioxide inside us, then we can deliver more oxygen to our muscles and our organs, including the heart and brain. And this thus heighten our physical capacity. All we're really doing is assisting the body in working the way it was meant to work in the first place. So if you watch a baby breathe, it doesn't overbreathe, it doesn't rush its breathing, it's very quiet, it uses its abdomen, its diaphragm, so its abdomen moves when it breathes. You put an adult next to a baby, and I'm afraid the same thing won't happen. There's a lot of constriction in the lower body, the breath moves into the upper chest, we breathe in sort of fairly fast, we're not taking the pauses in between, often because we're rushing, we're stressed. There's actually some scientists actually looking into calling it email apnea, because people, when they're sitting at the desk doing emails and things, they're holding the breath. You know, they're so tense, they're looking at their emails and answering the phone, and it's just that tension in the body. So it just pushes the breath up. I mean, one of the things in yoga, if you read the yoga philosophy books, they would say, right, going back centuries, if the breath is steady, so is the mind. And if the mind is steady, so is the breath. You can't have an anxious mind with a slow breath, and vice versa. You know, if your breath is slow, your mind will be slow. So again, that's something I teach in my class. So the high altitude, why is it beneficial to be at high altitudes? The air is thin, reduced atmospheric pressure of oxygen, the body adapts to this, and it increases the number of blood cells in your body. It's a bit like your own Popeye spinach, apparently. So up in the red blood cells improves oxygen delivery to muscles. You get reduction of lactic acid buildup and stronger performance. But high altitude training is not available to most of us, but we can bring the mountain to us. So by learning to stimulate this high altitude training, you increase the oxygen capacity of your oxygen carrying capacity of your bloodstream, allowing your blood vessels to fuel new capabilities. So if you reduce your breathing and properly regulate the amount of air you take in, you'll teach your body to breathe more efficiently and you become healthier. And I don't know if anybody's heard of Dr. Buteyko, don't know if I pronounced it right, Russian physician. He conducted groundbreaking research to determine the optimal breathing for astronauts during the Soviet space race. And apparently Patrick McEwen, who's written this book, has reduced his own sleep disordered breathing and chronic asthma. He works with people all the time, does Patrick, and he's got lots of case studies in his book. It's worth buying, actually. It's worth, and you can get it quite reasonable now. So on the last 13 years, Patrick's actually built on Dr. Buteyko's innovative approach and developed the Oxygen Advantage program. And he's done it. There was a presentation to a group of runners in a Dublin City Marathon who believe that taking large breath into the lungs during rest will increase oxygen content of the blood. And and 95% raised their hands because they were wrong. So that's the first thing. The other thing is, so the idea of taking bigger breaths to take more oxygen again is not really correct. How do we make optimal use of our respiratory system? It's not the oxygen that exerts the primary influence, it's the carbon dioxide. When carbon dioxide increases above a certain amount, these receptors stimulate breathing in order to get rid of the excess gas. In other words, the primary stimulus to breathe is to eliminate excess carbon dioxide from the body. And that's the end product of the natural process of breaking down fats and carbs. So carbon dioxide really is the doorway which lets oxygen reach your muscles. I know I'm repeating myself here. So if we overbreathe, the volume of air is greater than that which the body requires. And if we breathe in excess of what we require, too much carbon dioxide itself from the lungs and removed from the blood. Okay. So the other question is, the other thing you want to talk about is mouth breathing. So I mentioned that earlier. And how do we stop ourselves mouth breathing at night? Well, I actually go to a biological dentist in Huddersfield, and he's on Instagram. He's very worth following. He's called The Biological Dentist. And he talks a lot about breathing, believe it or not, because it can affect the mouth and it can affect the jaw and the teeth and everything. And he actually goes to bed with like strips over his mouth. I've talked about it in yoga and they just laugh at me, but I am actually going to buy some to try. You can get some special strips to put over your mouth. Alan's smiling here. You can get some, or you can get I think just 3-meter micropore tape just to put it over your mouth. But there's special strips that you can actually get for breathing. Also, he goes to bed, he has a little thing on his nose to open up the nostrils. And it sounds stupid, doesn't it? And funny, and we laugh at it. But actually, again, it can make a lot of difference to your health because it helps you sleep better. Because if you're snoring, you're not breathing, you're not sleeping as well, apparently. So, and also people who actually talk a lot, like myself probably, you breathe through your mouth more. So people who are teachers and salespeople are actually doing more mouth breathing, which again is not so good for us. So nose is actually for breathing, mouths are for eating. And what mouth breathing does, so if you breathe through your mouth, you can try that. What it does, it activates your upper chest if you breathe through your mouth. So it's a misconception that you take a deep breath, puff out the chest and raise the shoulders. This is neither deep nor beneficial to oxygenating the body. So the other benefit, so there's quite a few benefits of breathing through your nose. I don't know if you remember biology at school. When you breathe through your nose, you actually filter the air. It filters it, it warms it, it moistens it, and it causes some pressure to get the oxygen or the air down into your lungs. You don't have any of that if you mouth breathe. James Nestor, in his book, he did a trial where he was mouth breathing all the time, and he actually became quite poorly by just mouth breathing all the time. And the other thing that you do if you actually breathe through your nose is you create nitrous oxide. I'm just going to find the page in here to read out to you. So when it comes to nasal breathing and breath holding exercises, nitrous oxide plays an important role. Nitric oxide is produced inside the nasal cavity and the lining of the thousands of miles of blood vessels throughout the body. Scientific findings have shown that this extraordinary molecule is released in the nasal airways and transferred to the lower airways and lungs through nasal breathing. So it plays an important role in vasoregulation, the opening and closing of blood vessels. So if you have nitrous oxide in your nose and you use your nose to breathe, it opens your blood vessels. Homeostasis, it maintains the body maintains a state of stable physiological balance in order to stay alive. It also helps with immune defense and respiration. It helps prevent high blood pressure, low cholesterol, keeps the arteries young and flexible, and prevents the clogging of arteries with plaque and clots. All these benefits reduce your risk of heart attack and strokes, 2 of the top 3 causes of premature death in the UK. So again, something as simple as breathing through your nose can actually affect your health in quite, significant way, really. So I just thought that, again, that's fascinating, is that, the reason we need to breathe through our nose, and also the nitric oxide, which again is really important. So what does he give us a benefit? What can we do then to help us stop over breathing, or an exercise? So I'm just going to explain. Again, you can try it now. You do need to be sort of in a relaxed state, and perhaps to get your breathing relaxed first. But it's called the BOLT score. It's called the Body Oxygen Level Test. As far back as 1975, researchers noted that the length of time of a comfortable breath hold served as a simple test to determine relative breathing volume during rest and breathlessness during physical exercise. The BOLT score is a useful exercise and a useful tool for determining this breathing volume. It's simple, safe, involves no sophisticated equipment, can be applied at any time. It differs from other breath hold tests because it represents length of time until the first definite desire to breathe. But I can put this on an email if you want to. I can copy this information. But what you need to do, you can try it now if you want. What you do is you take a normal breath in through your nose and allow a normal breath out through your nose. And then you hold your nose with your fingers to prevent air from entering your lungs. And then you need to time the number of seconds until you feel the first definite desire to breathe, or the first stresses of your body urging you to breathe. These sensations may include the need to swallow or constriction of the airways. You may also feel the first involuntary contractions of your breathing muscles in your abdomen or throat as the body gives the message to resume breathing. And then you release your nose, stop the timer, and breathe in through your nose. Your inhalation at the end of the breath hold should be calm, and then you resume to normal breathing. So and Christopher Gladwell does this as well, and he was saying the hold at the end of the out breath, we should be trying to get up to 40 seconds, which is a lot, isn't it? I can't do 40 seconds. So the score, you write down your score. 10 seconds is really the minimum we should be trying to get to. And so here we are. So BOLT score of 10 seconds and under. Breathing recovery exercise to unblock your nose. Nose breathe at all times. Avoid sighing, taking big breaths. So we're really trying to work up to 40. But it might take you quite a bit of practice to get up to 40. 10 is sort of the minimum. 40 is the sort of optimum. When a BOLT score is 40 seconds, breathing is effortless, calm, gentle, quiet, soft, and minimal. To BOLT score 40 seconds, it's difficult to see breathing movements. The natural pause between each breath is generally about 4 to 5 seconds. The number of breaths during rest per minute varies from 6 to 10 minimal breaths. So what we're trying to do is do less breaths per minute, because most people breathe a lot more. I think it's about 14 or 15 times a minute, but we can get that breath right down. And again, it just gives you so many advantages. You're reducing the amount of oxygen, which actually helps you absorb more oxygen. It seems a bit crazy, doesn't it? But it's the carbon dioxide. And again, when I did my yoga training all these years ago, none of this was taught in the A&P. And there's also another quite interesting find as well, or interesting phenomenon, is the acid, the pH balance as well. Let me just find my notes on that one. Again, there was another study in Scotland when children that became mouth breathers after parents switched from their natural diet of seafood and oatmeal to the modernised diet of angel food, cake, white bread and many flour commodities, marmalade, canned vegetables, sweetened fruit juice, junk really. And his discovery illustrates the link between modern diet and chronic hyperventilation. So again, the food we eat can affect our breathing as well. Processed foods are mucus and acidic forming. Throughout evolution, our diet consisted of 95% alkaline forming and 5% acidic forming foods. Again, that's interesting. And the breath can affect the pH balance as well because of the carbon dioxide. And nowadays, the reverse is true. Our diet's composed of 95% acid and 5% alkaline forming foods. Acidic forming foods such as processed products, dairy, meat, bread, sugar, coffee, tea stimulate breathing. A natural response to experience a greater demand to breathe is to open the mouth to take more air in. Over time, the brain adjusts to this larger intake of air and overbreathing becomes a habit. So on the other hand, alkaline forming foods such as fruit and vegetables along with plain water are easy for the body to process. They are breathing friendly foods. But while these types of food are highly beneficial, I'm not saying you need to become a vegetarian. Protein is an essential part of a healthy diet, and meat provides a natural nutrient-rich source. But again, that's everybody's choice. But the most important thing is to get rid of processed food in your diet. So again, that affects the alkaline acid balance and it causes to mouth breathe, apparently. And acid foods, obviously, acid situation can cause cancer. We need to be in an alkaline situation, don't we? So I don't know how long we've done. I don't know if you want to do any, because the other thing that I found out in this book as well is about bicarb, which again is another interesting find. Bicarb is a helpful tool and it can reduce your breathing volume and increases your Bolt score. And also, somebody called Dr. Joseph McCurler suggests bicarb helps with ulcer pain, insect bites and gum disease. But also it helps maintain your blood pH by decreasing the lactic acid buildup during anaerobic exercise. It neutralises the acid that accumulates during high intensity training. So it's great, it helps greater endurance and power output. So they say actually people who are like athletes, if you take it before training, it can help. Bicarb can have positive effects on maximum breath hold time. So if you want to try that Bolt at home, you know, on your own when you're not on the call, obviously, maybe try it and then try with bicarb as well. And the recipe for the bicarb is 1/2 teaspoon of bicarb and 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And then sort of mix that together and just, it is a little bit acidic, but I know I take apple cider vinegar every day anyway, it's fine. So a little bit of bicarb won't make much difference, I can't imagine. But that actually helps you with your Bolt score, so it helps athletes with the breathing. I was also listening to James Nestor this morning, and there's no other animals that actually breathe through the mouth except a dog when it's panting to regulate the temperature. So nobody else breathes through the mouth except humans. So I don't really know why we got into that human habit. But again, that isn't how nature intends us to breathe. You know, again, you watch a baby, it doesn't breathe through its mouth, unless we are blocked up. So breathing through the nose, important. I also talked about one of the markers for longevity. Again, I found this fascinating. It isn't genetics, it isn't diet, it's lung capacity. So people who live longer have better lung capacity. But the larger our lungs are, the more efficiently they operate and the longer we will live. Apparently that's proven. How do we get up? And from 35, our lungs start to shrink. It's like anything, isn't it, as we get older? But again, we can help that. We can help the lungs stay stronger and healthier by breathing better. So practicing yoga, good posture, breathing slower, taking more pauses, which calms down the breath, and it helps the body stay in the calm state. Also exercise as well, helps your lungs stay strong. But if we don't breathe into the bottom part of the lungs, which I always teach, that part of the lungs is just going to go, it's not going to work very well. We've got fascia all around our lungs. So if we're not moving there, the fascia is not moving. And what happens is over time, it just gets sort of tight. It's like our muscles. If we don't move our muscles, they just dehydrate and they just go stiff like leather. So it's about moving them all the time, so moving the bottom part of your lungs. But it doesn't have to be a massive big breath. It's a nice gentle breath, but it's using the whole of your lungs. So Christopher, when I've worked with him, he recommends like a 5 or 6 in breath, a pause, about the same out, and then the long hold, like the Bolt score. And he was having people, when I've worked with him, as long as you can. 40 to me is too long for me at the moment. But and Patrick, in the book talks about, he gives, I haven't read all the book, it's too much, I haven't read it all yet. But he actually talks about when you're out exercising, when you're walking, to put the holds in as well. So he's got an exercise in here. So I'd start with practicing the Bolt score, where you just sitting and you're not doing any exercise and you're doing your breathing and you're holding. And then once you get better at it, you can start moving and put the holds in then. So it's very similar, but I can copy some of these charts out and some of these things that he actually recommends to practice. So those are the things really. Don't breathe through your mouth or very little. Slow your breathing down, put the pauses in. Don't overbreathe. Don't breathe into the upper chest. And even people who are asthmatic say to me, oh, well, I can't. My mum was an asthmatic and she used to pant and it just gets worse. But you can actually reverse that again with practicing your breathing. Obviously, don't forget, how important the nitrous oxide is through your nose. At night, I'll let you know how I get on with the tape. I haven't actually bought any yet, but I'm going to try it. I think sometimes I do snore, which a lot of people do. But it's just worth seeing if you can train yourself to breathe through your nose at night, and apparently you get much better sleep. And then the bicarb thing. I don't think there's anything else, but I just want, if anybody got any questions? Is anything anybody wants to ask? Or anybody got anything to add?
It's fascinating. It really is. I mean, I've heard a little bit with in the yoga, what we do and that with the breathing, but otherwise I don't really think about it. But it makes so much sense to do that, just to be conscious. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think just what fascinates is how it does affect your health. And we think about our food and our nutrition, our exercise, don't we? But do we think ever about breathing? I don't know if anybody does. I mean, obviously, I'm a yoga teacher and it is a big part to me. But yes, Colette, do you want to ask me?
Yes, thank you for that. It really is fascinating, and it ironed out a misunderstanding on my own part, because I thought it was better to breathe through the nose and breathe out through the mouth. So now I know, breathe through and out through your nose. And sometimes I've observed my partner pants, particularly when he's driving and it gets quite tense, and I can remind him to breathe through your nose. The other little thing was that recently I had a cold, and so I was very congested, and I found that I was breathing through my mouth. And my family reminded me of something my grandmother used to do, which was that she would put her head over a bowl of steaming water and just put a towel over. And so that was very effective. And also I find things like Albasoil can be good for nasal congestion. So so thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you think of what's in the atmosphere, I mean, talking about the dentist, the biological dentist, if anybody's on Instagram, it's definitely worth following. He puts something on every day. He's really fascinating. It isn't just about dentistry, but it's all connected. you know, the nose, the mouth, the teeth and everything. But I've lost my train of thought now. What was I saying? Oh gosh, sorry. What we were talking about nose breathing, weren't we? Oh no, I know what it was. He just fascinates me because he's like the most holistic person I've ever met. The stuff that he does and takes. But in their house, well, they're living in a caravan at the moment because they're building a house. He's got a machine called Amazing Airways or something, and it basically cleans the air. And every time, every so often, he'll show you inside this machine, and you can see the amount of dirt in that machine. Well, that's actually going through our nose all the time because it's in the air, isn't it? So we're actually, so if you don't breathe through your nose, that's all going into your mouth. So we're going to get more viruses if we're mouth breathers, aren't we? Because we're not filtering the air that we're taking in. You know, there's viruses, toxins, all sorts in the air. So yes, obviously your body has to be fit and healthy to fight these things, but the more you can do. So again, something as simple as learning to breathe through your nose as often as you can. I think you're okay. You are okay now and again breathing out through your mouth. But what you were saying about the sighing, that's not good because that's a sign of holding your breath, isn't it? If you're sighing all the time, it's because we're over breathing again. So it's this over breathing thing that's sort of fascinating to me and a fairly new thing. Yeah. I've always done pauses. You know, in yoga, there's loads of different pranayama techniques where you hold your breath and. But this is more the science behind it, which is really quite fascinating, I find. Yeah. Yes, Sasha?
We used to do lion breath in yoga, where you used to breathe in and then breathe out through your mouth. What was that purpose? Was that serving?
You are all right breathing out through your mouth because it is the filtration, is it? I think that works on your throat chakra, and that really sort of like releases, again, quite a lot of air out of your body, doesn't it? And again, releasing that carbon dioxide. I think it's just quite a forced breath, that one, to stimulate that area of your body. And I think it's also good for releasing some tension as well, isn't it? Because, you know, we don't realise we're holding tension, do we? Until we look at our breathing. So when you know, in my class, Asha and Christine, I'll tell you, I always say to them, don't just breathe, do your breathing once a week. Don't just think about breathing when you come to yoga. During the day, just stop and like think, how am I breathing? Because sometimes, you know, I was a bit anxious before I came on this call, I have to admit. So I'm sure my breathing was more shallow, and it's, you know, take some deep breaths. And people come to me and say, oh, thank you for teaching me that breath in yoga, because when I went to the doctors or the dentist, or I was had an operation, or I had to go in a CT scan or whatever that's scary, I use my breathing techniques, and it's amazing how calm it kept me. And that's the thing, let's say the yoga philosophy books will say, I think in one of the ancient books, when the breath is steady, so is the mind. Alan will know that if you know your meditation, you know, you slow your breath down.
Well, that's great, that, Linda. One thing that, I mean, so much that I didn't know before, and one of the things that I didn't know before was the importance of carbon dioxide to our health. I wondered what you thought about the war on carbon dioxide that we're waging, you know, net zero and all that.
All right, that's quite,
I knew that obviously from, you know, my sort of background with environmental strategies and stuff like that, trees are dependent on carbon dioxide, and without a certain minimum level of carbon dioxide, there won't be any life, because we need trees and vegetation. But
of course we do,
but we're only fractionally above the minimum level. I mean, I think the accepted level is 0.028% carbon dioxide in the air for trees to grow. And we're only at 0.04. So we're really pretty close to the low level anyway. So I didn't realise the importance it was to us. I thought they just, you know, trees depended on us breathing it out.
Well, they do say plants in your house are good, don't they? Because at night, if you have plants in your bedroom, they're giving out oxygen, and then we're taking in the what is it the other way?
No, it's a symbiotic relationship.
We need.
So
they give out carbon dioxide, and
they put oxygen.
And they give out oxygen. Sorry, and we give out carbon dioxide. They take.
It's a good relationship, and it's a very tenuous relationship. But I just wondered what you thought about the war we've got now raging on carbon
I
dioxide.
don't know. That's another subject, isn't it?
We'll have to look into that. Yeah,
Well, I mean, I don't
zero.
know. We could debate climate change and things, couldn't we? I mean, I don't know. That's
Well, I mean, they talk about carbon equivalents rather than carbon dioxide, and carbon equivalents are stuff like water vapor and methane and stuff like that. So it's quite confusing to unravel it. But it's a great point that you're making about carbon dioxide is vital to our own health.
yeah. That was a big thing to me. And when Christopher Gladwell said it, I was like, I don't really understand this. I don't understand the chemistry, the science behind it. But when you read, excuse me, Patrick's book, he talks about it, and James, and I mean, these are all fairly new books and people's new research. So it is fascinating, isn't it? But again, it just makes you think. We've always talked about these sort of things in yoga, but not really having the science behind it. Now the science is coming in. It's like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to do with that, you know. I mean, on another subject, I've just ordered a water filter because I'm really against like tap water, and it's going to have nitrogen in it, and that's supposed to be like so beneficial for your health. I mean, that's another subject really, but yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how I feel when I'm having this nitrogen water.
Come round and have a glass.
yeah, you can. Yeah, I'll bring some.
I think one of the things you said was about the homes being overheated, which most of us have. And I mean, I find in the morning my throat's often a bit dry and my nose is really dry. So I was thinking of what Colette said about having the bowl of water. There's a lot of people buy these humidifiers, don't they?
Yeah.
The heating, it just dries everything out, even in England where it's damp all the time.
I mean, I am thinking of getting one of these amazing airways. I mean, he does, if you go onto his site, he does have a discount on them. And somebody in yoga has actually bought one from watching him. But again, you just don't know, especially if you're mouth breathing at night, you're taking all the stuff that's in the environment, aren't you? All the stuff out there that, you know, if you see the dust on your car outside your house, it's coming into your house if your windows are open, and you're just inhaling all that, like your pollen and everything. So, you know, and the nose is there to filter it, but if you mouth breathe, you're not filtering, are you? And you are going to get in your nose if you are nose breathing, aren't you? Your nose is going to get blocked up and taking in all the particles of all this rubbish in the atmosphere. Yeah,
it's really dry. So I don't know if having one of these humidifier things is a good idea.
Linda,
Linda,
I've bought those mouth tapes about a month ago before I knew about this, and I sleep much better.
Oh, that's interesting.
I bought the medium ones, and I think I should have bought the large ones.
Oh yes, I mean, when you look online, there's so many different types that I can't see.
I didn't go researching. But...
Tell her why though.
Yeah, well, the osteopath about 4 years ago recommended I tape my mouth up at night, and I'll do it tomorrow. And then about a month ago, I thought you ought to do as you're told.
And did you find it? You don't feel breathless or anything? It doesn't make you feel.
No, just put it on. It's got a hole in the middle,
yeah,
but it keeps your lips together.
Yeah.
And it was the osteopath who said it.
It was the osteopath that had recommended it about 4 years ago.
Can you recommend a particular one to get then? There's so many different types. And you can
the first one I found on the internet.
All right, okay. I am going to buy some definitely to try them, because the dentist goes on about them.
There's 9 in the packet I've got. There's 90, and it's about £25. But I don't have a clean one every night. I do it, you know, every other night, or 3 nights.
Because are they lip shaped? I think they're lip shaped, some of them, aren't they?
It's just an oblong with a hole in the middle.
Oh, right. Yeah, again, it's just something that I've only recently heard about. And it's worth doing it. I mean, sometimes I go away with like female friends, and well, if they snore, you don't get as much sleep. So it'd be good if you can prevent the snoring if you're sharing a room with someone. But not just that, it is better. It sounds like it's better for you, you know. No. So just simple things that you can do that can maybe affect your health. It just makes you think, doesn't it?
I think a lot of dentists
research is being done on it, Linda. I've just read an article about how open mouth breathing can actually change the shape of your face. It can recede your chin,
Yeah,
change the way your jaw and teeth sit.
yeah,
And it's particularly a problem in younger children as well, that they
yeah,
have to train them how to breathe properly because their chins are receding back away and
yeah.
changing the shape of their face entirely.
Yeah, absolutely, Susie. Yeah, and that's way. I mean, he's called Dr. Seb, the biological dentist. Honestly, he's so knowledgeable. It's fascinating. Dr. Seb, but if you go on to, he's only on Instagram. I know some people say I'm not on Instagram. I don't know if he does anything else on anything else. So I just follow him on. I don't do anything on Instagram, but I do follow other people because there's some interesting stuff. Facebook's rubbish, and I'm not really into anything else. I'm not into any of these other things. But Instagram is definitely worth loading just to watch some of the people that I follow. Because I also follow a biomechanic in America called Katie Bowman. She's good as well. But and let me just have a look. Yes, it's called biological dentist, and he's Dr. Seb, and he takes you to his website, and you can get discount on a lot of the things that he recommends. I mean, he's against fluoride and things like that, and he recommends a certain toothpaste and things, but he talks about all sorts of interesting stuff. I mean, he's got loads of followers now. He just started his business, Wonder of Wellness in Huddersfield. He's just taken over the practice that he was a dentist at, but he's taken over the practice.
Did he take John Roberts' practice, the non-mercury?
Yes,
right.
Yes, yeah.
I'm going in March.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a massive waiting list. Somebody in my yoga class goes now because she's got a root canal, and they're relating root canals to cancer and all sorts. Breast cancer. She sent me a big YouTube thing on cancer and root canals. So, I mean, I got rid of mine, and I've had some implants there and things. So, yeah, brilliant dentist. But
I've been going to John Roberts for about 10 years.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's moved on somewhere else, hasn't he? Yeah.
Up to Cumbria somewhere. No.
Yeah. Oh, so you'll know, but it's even better now. You go and you've got relaxing music, and you've got nice aromatherapy oils, and they're doing all sorts of different things. Amazing stuff. I don't really know half of the stuff they're doing, but it's fascinating.
Are the yoga and nidra good for breathing?
Sorry?
Practice? Are the yoga good for breathing practice?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because when you're doing yoga nidra, you relax really deeply. It's called yoga sleep, and it's a long relaxation, and you get into a really deep sleep. No, well, you don't sleep, but you go into really deep relaxation. So the next stage of consciousness, and then your breathing is really slow. Then when you're relaxed, yeah, because you can't have an anxious, a shallow breath when you're relaxed. You just can't. It just doesn't happen. That's how the body is clever. But it's what we've undone, and younger children and younger people now, they're in this state of all this technology, and they're sat at desks, and they're on phones and computers all the time, aren't they? And so they're starting younger with all these stress levels, really.
Yeah.
Linda, have you increased your Bolt score then since you started doing the breathing?
It's getting better. I've got a long way to go. Yeah, but I mean, it'd be interesting for you all to have a try and come back to me and let me know what it is. But yeah, I'm trying to do the hold. But the thing is, the more you think about it and panic about it, you can't do it. So you've got to be in a really calm, You probably need to do a few minutes, just normal deep breathing first, before you're getting yourself into quite a relaxed state before you do it. Yeah.
Well, I'll just go back. Eileen just put in the chat that Patrick McKeown
yes,
developed his own tapes. I think you meant, didn't you? We were talking.
Oh, has he? All right.
And you can get them on Amazon, so it's just in there if anybody wants to.
I can't. All right. Are they? I can't see the message actually. Can't see it.
Yeah, he probably has it at the back of his book. He developed his own, the ones that you just put around the mouth with the gap.
Yeah, right, okay, I'll have a look at those.
Jean
Yeah.
was saying they were 90 for 25. I think those are the ones on Amazon.
Yeah.
And you can get ones for sensitive skin.
Oh
But
yes, yes. Sticking on your mouth wouldn't be very comfortable, would it? I'm just thinking if I missed anything. I don't think so.
Anybody else got any other questions? Or
I want to know how you achieve deep breathing. How do you achieve it?
Sorry, what do you say?
There's a question from Janet. How do you achieve deep breathing?
I don't really understand what you mean by that question.
Well, you're saying that we all breathe too shallowly. Then how do we breathe deeply?
Well, again, it's practice, isn't it? It's breathing. Just get yourself in a relaxed state. I mean, at my start of my yoga class, we'd all lie down on the floor. I mean, you can sit if you prefer. Your back has to be up straight if you're actually sitting in doing breathing. You can't breathe if your spine isn't straight. So you need to make sure you're up against a wall, or you've got a nice upright posture, and you just concentrate on your breath. So you breathe in and out through your nose and just concentrate through your breath. And as you sort of slow down your mind and you relax, and you release thoughts, then your breath just starts to naturally deepen. So it's just a natural process, really. You can count in, you count for, you can do all sorts of different counts. You start counting sort of 3 or 4 in, or whatever you can manage. It's not about over breathing and really expanding your lungs. It's about that sort of quiet, gentle breathing, and then breathing out for similar count. And then once you get into a rhythm, start putting a few holds in, hold after the in-breath. And then at the end of the out-breath, obviously, try and get into a longer hold. That's the most important. Because what most people do is they don't finish the out-breath before they breathe in again. And that is the problem. That's why the out-breath is probably more important than the in-breath, because the in-breath takes care of itself. The out-breath is the one we cut short, and then we pant again. So I don't know if anybody's asthmatic on the call, but asthmatics, they don't finish the out before they start again. I saw my mum many times, and she did, die of chest infection.
Yeah, I've got asthma. And I had it when I got it when I was a kid, and damaged lungs and all that. So I was, I sort of do meditation. I've done it for 40 odd years. It's really about attention. If you give your attention to your body, in my experience, which is obviously we've all got different experiences, is the short out breath is because we're thinking about the next thing to do. So the breath follows the mind. So your attention's ahead. So you don't finish the breath off, because you're sort of wanting to be somewhere else rather than being aware of now, or whatever way you want to put it. So you give your attention to your body. You give the attention, then the intention, and then your body will take care of it. And don't rush it.
So,
it's kind of almost a sort of walking meditation technique.
Absolutely, So do you find, since you've meditated, Alan, then your breathing's been better then? Your asthma isn't a problem. You don't have to have inhalers or anything, do you?
I have got inhalers if I get an attack of it, but I very well use it.
You might be worth looking at the book. It's
it's a fascinating thing, and obviously a lot of new information there. The carbon dioxide fascinated me.
It did me, absolutely. I couldn't understand that. It doesn't make sense, does it? And I didn't realise that we've got oxygen saturation in the lungs, so we don't need really any more oxygen. We need to get the carbon dioxide level to get the absorption. And I just couldn't understand that when Christopher said it. And then I'm reading this book, and I did biology A level, but I'm not really a scientist. So I still find it quite incredible, really, but, that's the science, and that's what it is.
Well, it's tricky stuff, isn't it? Because,
I think I still have to keep reading it over and over again. Yeah, but I have heard a lot recently about, again, sorry, Asha,
So it just goes back to the fact that we're designed to live in the present moment and not do all the stuff we do in society.
Of course,
That's the only healthy way to live. But it's all these are reminders to ourselves to just be here now.
Yeah. Yeah.
All drawing us back to the present, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is trying to be meditative, like you say, even when you're walking, when you're eating, slowing everything down. How many people eat as if they never had a meal before, and they eat like so fast, you know? And that's probably taking a lot of air if you're eating really fast. My sister, a knife and fork goes really fast and I'm like the opposite. I take ages to eat, you know. But again, it's like enjoying every mouthful and be meditative with your food, with your walking and everything.
Bringing the mind back into balance, because we're ignoring our bodies and our emotional state. The mind's taken over, so we now have to go the other way to bring back the balance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Does that answer your question about how you deep breathe? I can't see anybody at Susie.
Janet, I think, asked, didn't she?
I can only see the wall. That's
it. Practice.
See you better now. Any more questions? Anybody else wants to add anything?
There's only a lovely thought I heard about breathing, where when you're taking in the breath or you're receiving the breath, with the out breath, that you know, and there is that tendency not to finish it properly. It's that giving back, and it's thinking about receiving and giving with the breath. That I really like that sort of philosophy.
Sounds a bit Amish to me, which is good. Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say? It's what?
Amish. Sounds like Amish. Sorry, I can't Amish. Sounds a bit, this whole philosophy sounds like the Amish culture.
I think it's
taking things, appreciating things, thanking God for things. Yeah.
I don't know the Amish culture.
Well, it's Zen, isn't it? It's all very Zen, the whole thing.
Very,
Buddhist type of being in the moment, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is, and that again, that's something else that we sort of seem to have lost these days, don't we? Being in the moment, we're worrying about the past or regretting the past, and then we're worrying about the future, and then we've missed today, the moment, and that's what the breath does. It brings us back to now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And if you're concentrating on your breath deeply, you're really concentrate on it, you really can't be thinking about anything else either. So this monkey mind that chatter, we all have it, you know. I'm not perfect, I'm a yoga teacher, I'm not perfect, you know, and yoga helps me so much, massively influences my life, and it's a journey. It's not just I say that to students, it's not just a once a week practice, it's a journey. It's something we bring into our lives. And if I can help people with just one simple thing. People say to me, I can't do yoga because I'm not flexible, you know. Well, that's a bit crazy, isn't it? Because you're not going to get more flexible, and it isn't all about that. But if you come to yoga and just learn how to breathe and relax, I don't really care whether you're flexible or not. You know, we can be too flexible. I've got a bit of hypermobility, so that's too much flexibility. I need to do more strengthening. So people have got the wrong idea of yoga anyway. And if you read the philosophy books, yoga is about stilling your mind. It's about stilling the thought waves of your mind. That's what Patanjali talks about. And again, I mean, I have a friend who teaches around here, and what a lot of people are doing now are teaching for an hour, and they're charging the same amount of money, because we're in this fast world now. We can't do an hour and a half class, can we? I can't teach for an hour, just can't do it, because I want people to center at the beginning, I want people to relax at the end, and some breathing, and some exercise or postures or asanas or whatever you call them. And then this friend said to me, she said, oh, I don't really do much of the breathing. You can do that if we do a day, you know. So yoga isn't yoga without breathing, is it? So, and that's just me. I come from a bit of an old school type, you know, culture, really. It's like anything, we've got faster, haven't we?
Yeah.
Even yoga, you know, we'll just get an hour to get
quick
and go. we haven't got time to relax, you know, or breathe. Yeah, I'm being a bit sort of facetious there, but yeah,
it's great to be reminded about during the day, to really just try and do that again and be aware. Yeah,
just fall in love with your breath.
Yeah.
Of
life, as you said, it's the most important thing.
Right.
You know, it is.
Yeah, I think the other thing that got me was, you know, like I say, everything else we think about, good nutrition, and then have we thought about breathing? No. So again, that brought it home to me, and I know how important it is. Yeah.
That's great. That's really interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to ask anything?
Anything else before I go?
Anyway, so thank you very much.
Yeah, well,
Lisa.
practice your boat scars, and if you want to give any feedback, please do, and you know what you're up to,
Again.
what your scar is.
Yeah, that's
I will
great.
do.
Thank you everyone. for
Thank
coming.
you.
Thanks.
Lovely to
Lovely
see
afternoon.
you.
Bye.
See you again. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Take care.
Bye. Bye.